Hello everyone. As you can see, I'm with someone who needs no introduction, who's been one of the most prominent members of Parliament in recent times, Craig Kelly. We do like people who are principled and who speak out on matters of principle, and so for that I want to congratulate
Thank you,
Craig.
David. Thank you.
Now, he's very well known, obviously, for his views on climate change and energy policy. He's also been very prominent in speaking out about the early treatments of coronavirus. And of course, most recently, for having resigned his membership of the Liberal Party and become an independent. But that's not why I'm talking to Craig today. Craig, when you were in Parliament and you mentioned the triple therapies of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, you also made reference to Dr. Zelenko, who's a well-known Orthodox Jewish doctor in New York. Tell us about that and what happened subsequently.
Well, it's interesting. I've been following this debate for a long time now, and almost 9 months ago, someone actually sent me a little video, which was of Dr. Zelenko giving a message to President Trump. And this was at the time of probably the most scary time of the coronavirus, where so much was unknown about it.
Mm-hmm.
And this message that Dr. Zelenko gave was a message of hope and optimism, and there's a treatment available. And I just thought this was a wonderful message. And before I shared it, I'm always very careful about what I put on my social media. I wanted to check that this actually was a doctor.
Right.
It wasn't someone else. And so it was a doctor, and there was a doctor called Dr. Zelenko, and this is who he was, sort of thing. And when I looked at the video, he had a long Jewish beard, which got me also. And I said those words to a journalist in a private conversation, just saying, well, I just wanted to just check this actually was, and that was one way of identifying and making sure that it was the exact person I was talking about. And it was in a private conversation that I did. And since then, I've had the fortune to speak to Dr. Zelenko on the telephone. We've done a Zoom conference together. I follow everything. And this is just one of the most wonderful human beings I've ever met.
Right.
Here we have a gentleman that himself is going through. He told me he has he's got heart surgery.
Yes, he has.
He's got cancer. He's got a lot of medical problems. And yet here he is, fighting the fight against so-called the establishment for what he believes can help other people.
Now, after you made that reference to Dr. Zelenko, that was jumped on by a Labor member of Parliament.
Yes.
What did he have to say?
Oh, well, look, it was terribly grubby and disappointing. This is during a time when I'm being attacked from left, right and centre in the media, and to have someone stand up there and sort of claim that I'm somehow anti-Semitic because I've apparently made this slur against Dr. Zelenko. And in the interview I actually did, I said that Dr. Zelenko is one of my true heroes. Sure. And I said that I have very few, as a boy you have your sporting heroes, but as you get older you become more cynical and you have very few heroes in the world. And Dr. Zelenko is one of my heroes, probably my most important hero. And his courage and determination and strength has inspired me to try and have some of that courage and determination. So here I was praising a Jewish man as having the highest respect for him, sort of thing, and yet in Parliament I'm somehow being labelled as anti-Semitic. It was just very, very disappointing. And I think sometimes these slurs where they say you are actually anti-Semitic when you are not, actually are very counterproductive, because it enables, just it generalises it, sort of thing, and where you see real anti-Semitic slurs, it enables these people to get away with it.
Look, Craig, what you say is correct, and let me make it 100% clear. This man is not anti-Semitic.
That's right. It's almost laughable. I know you shouldn't laugh about these things. Yeah. You shouldn't joke about it because they're serious subjects. But to suggest someone like myself that has almost, I would say, a love for Dr. Zelenko, and he has this aura that I just find is just incredible. And someone that I myself have been to Israel, and I've seen and I've understood for years the struggle of the Israeli people, and to be labelled anti-Semitic was just so offensive to me. It was.
Well, the person we're talking about, I think, is Josh Burns, who's Labor Member of Parliament. He's in his first term. He is Jewish, but he's regarded as quite left of centre, and he's quoted in The Australian as criticising you for having made a colloquial stereotype and that you should not be making comments or judgments on what you believe is anti-Semitic or not. Now, to clarify this beyond doubt, you received a video message from Dr. Zelenko himself.
Right. Yes.
And I want you people to have a look at it, a small part of it now.
Yeah, hi, my name is Dr. Zev Zelenko. I'm the originator of the Zelenko protocol for the early treatment of COVID-19. And this video is in response to the unfortunate slanderous statements against the Australian Member of Parliament, Craig Kelly. He's my friend. I admire him and I look up at him for his courage. He is not anti-Semitic at all, and he's a lover of the land of Israel and of the Jewish people. And he is right. I do have a long Jewish beard. And I think Australia is extremely fortunate to have a man of integrity such as Craig Kelly. And I find it disgusting and slanderous, inappropriate, and outright evil to vilify such a good person with something that is clearly not true.
Now, Craig, from the video, how did Dr. Zelenko describe himself?
He said, yes, I have a long Jewish beard, and he did it. Look, I've spoken to you and my other Jewish friends and said, look, is there anything I've said here that could be anti? And remember, this was in a private conversation, and I was trying to describe when I first saw the video of why I wanted to check to make sure it was a bona fide a doctor, and this actually was a Dr. Zelenko, and this is what he looked like. So I didn't want to post false information.
Yeah.
Now, then this is another thing that annoys me greatly in the media. You're forever being accused of posting false information, and you can never sit down and, okay, tell me what it was that was false, and let's debate the facts. You can't do that. So this is why I double check all these things,
Okay, so
and I wanted to make sure it was correct.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons why it's really important to clarify this, Craig, and I thank you for your time in doing so, is because we are very keen to fight real anti-Semitism. Yes. And that means when a smear of falsehood is made in a subject that we hold to be important, we have to tackle that as well. Yes. We have to address it.
Look, I can perhaps forgive Josh Burns for saying what he did. He's a first-term member. He's trying to make a name for himself. He thinks this was so. Look, I'm sure in the corridors quietly at Parliament he'll go, look, I'm sorry, I apologise for what I said, and so if he does that, I'm happy to forgive him, and let's move on from this.
Okay. Now, you mentioned you've been to Israel.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you a question without notice. A little over 2 years ago, there was a by-election in the seat of Wentworth.
Yes.
And during that, it was shortly after President Trump had made an announcement that the US Embassy would be moved to Jerusalem. Now that you're an independent, you'll have your own views expressed on a whole range of subjects. If such a vote happened in Australia, which way would you vote?
Oh, absolutely. If the Israeli Parliament decides this is where our capital is, this is where their parliament is, and I had the great pleasure of actually going to the parliament in Israel, and went through and walked through it. And if that's where the head of government is, it is just nonsense not to have your embassy or your consulate anywhere else other than Jerusalem. So, look, Donald, and remember, this has been US policy under so many other leaders, but none of them have actually taken the step to do it. Donald Trump not only did exactly what he said, he moved it to Jerusalem, and I think that's obviously now that should set the example for Australia to follow.
Okay. Well, the final thing I want to do, Craig, is, and we do this for our friends.
Yes.
I'm wearing one of the Australia-Israel friendship pins. Yes. I would like to present you with one.
That's great. Thank you so much.
So, whenever you go to a Jewish event, or if you have lunch again with an Orthodox rabbi, as we have done
bring that very
together, it's something you can wear And
I'll get that out and hold that up, and I will wear it with pride and honour.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, David. Thanks.